What's up, guys? I'm Joe. Today I'm talking about the new Coheed and Cambria album, The Unheavenly Creatures. So, Coheed and Cambria are back with their ninth studio album, The Unheavenly Creatures, Act 1 of this new Vaxis saga the band is embarking on. The album marks the return of the band to their career-spanning concept, the Amory Wars. This is a concept that has followed the band all the way throughout their career. All their records has even expanded into comic book territory. That is until 2015's The Color of the Sun, which saw the band finally just making an album with songs that were not connected to each other. Honestly, that album was somewhat refreshing. I do enjoy it quite a bit. I go back to it every now and then, and it always just feels like the band kind of taking a second, taking a breath away from the concept and trying something a little different. You know, honestly, I find it kind of funny that the most surprising thing the band could have done up until that point was not make a concept record. Of course, the band have made their way back into their world with the Unheavenly Creatures, as I said, Act 1 of this Vaxis saga the band plans to embark on. There's definitely at least a few albums planned to finish up the story. It's a fresh new story. It's unclear where it fits into the bigger tale at this point, but I'm sure there are going to be a lot of hints along the way, and especially, I think, according to Claudio Sanchez, the singer, the next album will do a lot to tell fans that are really invested in the story where exactly this will fall in the timeline. Honestly, for me, I've always been, not the biggest fan of the band, but I've followed them for many years at this point, and I couldn't tell you much of anything about the story, to be honest. It is kind of hard to follow, going on Reddit, looking through that kind of stuff. I still am not really grasping exactly what's going on there. But that never really detracted from the music. I've always managed to just enjoy the band for their sound. And The Color of the Sun was sonically fairly different for the band. They were going for some more poppy tendencies as far as creating memorable hooks in the choruses, and the sound was a little lighter than what we had gotten used to, which I thought was pretty cool. However, knowing that the band was going back into their concept did suggest they'd be going back to their progressive roots. For me, the band has always kind of teetered the line between progressive rock or metal and a sort of emo punk kind of sound, which I always thought was pretty cool. And like I said, with this album, it definitely suggested going back to those progressive tendencies, and the first couple tracks really set things up pretty great. The Dark Sentencer begins with these dueling guitars and spacey kind of synthesizers before going into this fist-pumping anthem-type feel. Listening to the song, it's like, yeah, Coheed is back. The song is classic Coheed and Cambria, from start to finish, a true epic. Great riffs, scorching guitar solos, great, hooks from Claudio. Everything seemed to be coming together very well. And that continued on the next track, The Unheavenly Creatures. It's another favorite of mine on the record. It offers this pretty interesting 8-bit video game sounding line in the beginning and throughout the song. It definitely lends itself well to that sort of spacey vibe that the first track set up, and ultimately this experiment proves to be a success, with the track being one of the catchiest, one of the more memorable on the album. Definitely has my favorite chorus that you can get off the record. Yeah, has a bit of a punk feel to it as well, which I definitely do like. Sadly, things seem to take a turn already after these two opening tracks. Honestly, everything on this album is perfectly listenable. I think if you're a die-hard Coheed and Cambria fan, you'll probably eat it up. You'll probably love it. There really isn't a bad song on here, it's just that everything sounds really similar. The biggest standout moments for me have come and gone with those first two tracks. And from here on out, you basically have a bunch of mid-tempo rockers or a few ballads here and there that's going for the kind of catchy, memorable chorus. And that's pretty much it for the rest of the album. Everything starts to really blend together for me, especially on an album where everything's 4 or 5 minutes long. Like, there's not a single shorter track on here. Nothing really breaks up the length. So for something that's so long, it is detracting from the overall quality to have everything kind of be in that same tempo range, that same kind of feel and sound, same kind of structure to the songs as well. The band manages to pick up the pace a bit with True Ugly, which definitely has a punkish kind of vibe to it, and I do like that track. But overall, then it's just kind of back to the same thing afterwards. That isn't to say there aren't some good moments along the way. Apart from the first two tracks, I think the band really shines later into the record with songs like The Gutter, It Walks Among Us, All on Fire as well. It Walks Among Us in particular has a great drive to it, has these crunchy riffs and pounding drums that really pull things along. And The Gutter begins with these really nice piano chords that are very spaced out. There's a bit of like reverb and echo to them, so it kind of feels like I'm on the edge of my seat listening for what's going to come next, which has a really great effect. And once the band comes in, it's a pretty great track. The song immediately gets injected with these powerful guitars, a very heavy instrumental, and you could look to a track earlier in the album, Black Sunday, which is pulled along by this really nice and prominent bass line, something you don't get too much throughout the record. I do like just the sound of the bass there, the reliance on it, and there's some really great vocal moments from Claudio in the verses as well, which has a nice kind of darker melodic vibe to them. Like I said, apart from these moments, the majority of the other tracks just feel so similar to each other. As I said, that lack of change in tempo and style for what is already a pretty long album makes it feel like it's sort of overstaying its welcome. It definitely feels like it could have been cut down, especially if it is the act one of what's going to be multiple parts. And granted, Coheed is a band that tends to have pretty long records. I don't know, I just feel like there's not enough to say to really justify this length, which is kind of unfortunate because when the band shines, they really do on this album. There are quite a few tracks I think I will be going back to, but definitely not the album as a whole. So overall, I'm feeling a 3 out of 5 for this album. It has me mostly just feeling okay about it because apart from those standouts, there's just not a big diversity in the sound. I'm definitely interested to see where the band goes next. Hopefully they can build off of these bigger and better moments that you hear on some of the tracks on here. So yeah, let me know what you think of the album in the comments, whether I'm right, whether I'm wrong. As always, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.